How do we realize God? It's such an incredible, mysterious, and almost tragic irony, because we think of realizing God as something that we're gonna find. In the midst of all of this, we're gonna find God. And if we can just look carefully enough, then we'll be able to see God in everything, in the midst of everything. And the irony of it is that it's not that by looking carefully we're able to see God amidst everything. It's that God is actually in everything. And that's why I say it's a tragic irony, because we spend our lives looking everywhere. There's actually a great story of a man who was a very, very sincere seeker. And he went here and went there and looking for God and did so much study. Went to so many teachers, went to so many places looking for God. But couldn't find him. He would go here and there, roaming around. I've got to find God. And finally, he gives up in great frustration, in great despair. And he sits down under a tree right on the banks of this river. And he says, fine, forget it, God. Okay. I realize I'm never going to find you. You're not findable. And I'm so upset because I really wanted to find you. But okay, fine. And at that moment, out of the river, this fish jumps up out of the river. And the fish starts flapping around in the air, crying, water, water, I need water. I'm going to die without water. And the man who's watching this, he looks and he says, well, you stupid fish. Like, you just came out of the water. There's nothing but water. You were surrounded by water. If you could stop flapping around in the air screaming for water, you'd realize you were in the water. And the fish says, and because it's our stories, fish can talk, and so the fish says to him, same thing is true for you. You are crying for God, screaming for God, roaming here and there, flapping around for God. And just like I'm surrounded by water, you're surrounded by God. Inside you, not only outside you, but also inside you. So when we think about realizing God, it's not about how in the midst of everything else can I find God. It's not like one of those Where's Waldo puzzles that, there's 500 things on the page that are not Waldo, and you have to look really carefully so you can find him in the midst. All of it is God. And so the question becomes, how can I see God in everything? How can I see the truth in everything? If we believe our scriptures, if we believe the teachings of the saints and the enlightened masters and the gurus, what they tell us is that every single thing on earth is God. That's the truth. Our misidentification, false identification with the body, with the mind, with the personality, with the identity, that's all false. That's when we talk about Maya. And the truth is God. In fact, I was just recently in Vienna at this beautiful interreligious gathering, and several of the leaders were together and talking about how in actually all of the religions, we all say there's only one God. And they were discussing how followers misunderstand. Followers think that we're actually disagreeing. And how the leaders were marveling at the fact that actually the belief is the same, that we all say there's one God. And then one of them turned to PujyaSwamiji and said, but in Hinduism, you people say there's so many gods. And then before PujyaSwamiji had a chance to answer, somebody else who was there, another Hindu, said, no, we also believe in just one God. Everything is a manifestation of God. And PujyaSwamiji said, actually, what we believe is, it's not one God, it's nothing but God. And that's a very subtle but very important distinction. It's not one God sitting out there somewhere. It's nothing but God. And so the realization of God is, how can I see the truth in the world? And that's why in so many meditation practices, in so many yoga practices, in so many Kriya practices of so many different traditions, we focus on the third eye. The third eye is the chakra, the Agya chakra, or the energy center. And that particular energy center, we won't go into all about the chakras, but each of them connects to a different aspect. And this energy center, this chakra, is the energy center of the power of discrimination. This is why we put on tilak. Everybody says, why do you put on tilak? What does it mean? Well, the reason we put tilak here is to remind ourselves, okay, all of the problems in the world begin with these two eyes. I see something, it makes me angry. In that anger, I act, I speak, I do stupid things. I get the repercussions of those things. We were talking last night about bad karma. I get those repercussions. If I don't act or speak, my anger festers within me. I get ulcers, I get heart disease. I can't meditate. I see something, I feel jealous. Oh, why does that person have this? Why does that person get that? Oh, if only I could look like you, or have that sari, or have those jewels, or have that car. Or we see something, we covet it. We see something, makes us feel lustful. All of the problems tend to trace back to what we see with these two eyes. And so the reason we put this tilak here is to remind us, oh God, let me open this eye. Let my Agya chakra, my energy center of the power of discrimination, be awakened. With that power of discrimination, it's not discrimination of black and white, or thin or fat, or pretty or ugly. It's not that type of discrimination. It's discrimination of truth from falsehood. So let me open this eye so that I can actually see the truth. And what is that truth? The divinity. With these two eyes, I see you as a woman, beautiful woman. With this eye, I see you as divine, in the container of a beautiful woman, in the container of a beautiful young girl, in the container of a man. But what I'm able to see is the divine. And that's the truth. And that's all of the meditations on the third eye. That's what it's all about. Is opening up that center so that we can see the truth. That's how we realize God. Whether we do it through actually meditating on the third eye, specifically, whether we do it just through our meditation and prayers, that's what our sadhana is about. Is, oh God, by whatever name, it doesn't matter what name, whether we say God, whatever word we use, or no words. But it's all about being able to see the divine, to see the truth, to recognize that all of these are just different containers. The beautiful metaphor that they give is, the sun is shining. And as many containers as I place on the ground is as many reflections of the sun as I'm going to get. And the reflection looks slightly different, because if I've got a tall, transparent glass with water in it, it's going to give me a different reflection than if I have a shallow clay pot. But they're all reflections of the same sun. The containers are not illusions, but the illusion is assuming that what I've got is just a glass or a bowl, whereas really what I have is the sun. And that's how we realize God.